I've been gone for a few weeks. No uploads, no updates, no reason, at least not one I could explain without sounding completely unhinged. But something happened. Something I promised myself I'd never talk about again. I thought if I stayed quiet long enough, it would forget me. I was wrong. Some stories don't stay buried, especially the ones recorded in rooms that were never meant to be opened. This isn't a creepypasta. It's not a rumor, and it's definitely not fiction. This is something I lived through, something I survived. Back then, I was just a studio assistant. I kept my head down, did what I was told. But one night, I heard something I wasn't supposed to hear, saw something I was never meant to see. I walked away, stayed quiet until now, because silence doesn't protect you. It invites it back. And if you're listening to this, I need you to remember just one thing. It started with a reel, and it ends with a name. I used to work for Diddy back when the beats were still running like blood through those mansion walls. I wasn't anyone important, just a sound tech, the guy who spliced vocals, labeled reels, and cleaned up reverb when the artists left for the night. The only reason I'm even talking now is because I was there when the girls vanished, when Diddy's daughters stopped showing up on the red carpet, stopped posting selfies, stopped smiling like they were part of something. No one noticed it at first. They had always been photogenic. Twins, Delilah and Jesse, then Chance, red carpets, matching outfits. One time, Diddy had them walk a music video shoot like it was a damn debutante ball. Everyone smiled. Everyone posted. But then, nothing. At first, I thought they were just laying low. The legal stuff was starting to swirl. Lawsuits, tabloids, a weird Homeland Security raid that none of us were allowed to talk about. But then I remembered something from the year before, the thing that really chilled me. Kim Porter died, and everything changed. I was in the studio that day, October 2018. The Vault, we called it, a sub-basement studio under Diddy's Holmby Hills estate. You had to punch in a code and go down 2 levels. The walls were 2 feet thick, no cell signal, total sound isolation. That was where it lived, but I'm getting ahead of myself. That afternoon, I was cataloging old tape reels, mostly stuff from the late 90s. I was splicing together some unused tracks when my phone buzzed on the desk. Missed call. Then a text from a session producer. Kim's dead. Found in bed. Pneumonia, they say. Pneumonia? Kim had been in the studio just 2 weeks before that, laughing and drinking alkaline water like she was on a fitness magazine cover. I didn't believe it, and neither did the daughters, though they never said it out loud. The day after her funeral, I showed up to the studio and found the booth below locked. I'd never seen it locked. Diddy didn't even record down there anymore. It was more like a trophy room for his legacy. But that day, locked tight, and 2 hours later, he came in through the side entrance wearing sunglasses inside. Said nothing to me. Just walked up to the vault door, punched in the code, and disappeared inside. He was in there for 4 hours. When he came out, he looked drained, like something had taken a piece of him. He handed me a tape case and said, "Don't label this one." I looked at the case. It was black velvet, lined with a red wax seal. No writing on it, no artist name. Just a strange burn mark on the side, a symbol I didn't recognize. It looked ancient, almost like an old script from a language that didn't exist anymore. He said, "Put it on the top shelf, behind the others. Don't touch it again." So I didn't, until now. The rest of the story, the daughters disappearing, the leaked memoir, the beat that came back to haunt them, it all connects to that one damn tape. I wish I had burned that tape when I had the chance, but I didn't. I slid it behind a stack of old Busta Rhymes reels, top shelf in the vault, exactly like he told me. No label, no metadata, just that strange velvet case and a feeling I didn't want to admit. Like something was watching me even as I walked away. I tried to forget about it. Went back to work cataloging older sessions upstairs, playing background beats on loop to distract myself. I figured whatever was on that reel, it wasn't my business. Just another secret in a place full of them. But later that night, something changed. It was close to midnight when I noticed it. A low hum vibrating through the floorboards. Not music, not interference. It sounded like pressure building behind a wall, like something too big trying to breathe in a space too small. I muted the monitors and listened harder. It was coming from downstairs. Now, I've been in a lot of studios. I know the way equipment settles, the way wiring can buzz if it's running too hot, but this wasn't mechanical. This felt alive, and it was coming from the booth below, the one room no one had touched since Kim's funeral. I told myself I was being paranoid, but I still went down. That hum had a pull to it, like it wanted to be heard. The vault door was open. I know for a fact I locked it earlier. I stepped inside. First thing I noticed was the temperature. The place was freezing, not air conditioning cold, but deeper, like a cave that hadn't seen sunlight in years. My breath hung in the air like smoke, and we were underground. No vents, no windows. Then came the silence. Not just quiet, actual silence. The kind that makes your ears ring, because your brain's trying to fill in the gaps. I clapped once, nothing came back. The sound just vanished. The console lights flickered on. No one had touched the master switch. The tape deck was spinning, except there was nothing loaded in it. That's when I heard the voice, not through the monitors, not over headphones. Right behind me, low, clear, spoken just loud enough to reach inside my skull without touching my ears. It sings through blood, but listens through bone. I turned around expecting, hoping, to see someone messing with me. But there was no one, just me and the flickering LEDs, and that cold. I was halfway to the door when I heard a second voice, quieter than the first, hiding under it like a harmony. It was a woman, familiar, Kim. Not like she was in the room, more like her voice was stitched into the air. If you're hearing this, it's already watching. That was enough for me. I didn't wait to hear more. I grabbed my bag, shut the vault door, and left the house without even logging my hours. I didn't care. Something was wrong in that studio, and I knew better than to stick around when the music started playing itself. I told my supervisor the next day that the booth below had an equipment issue. She laughed and said, "That room's just ego and ghosts. Don't worry about it." I quit that night. Sent the studio manager a text. Didn't explain anything. Just walked away. 3 days later, I got a package in the mail. No return address, just a manila envelope and a typed note on bad boy letterhead. "You didn't hear the tape. You didn't see the vault. You don't know the name." Thing is, I didn't know the name. Not then. But the daughters did. I didn't hear from anyone for months after I quit. No one from the studio reached out. Diddy went dark. The vault stayed locked. But something about what I'd seen in that room never left me. Not the tape. Not that whisper. Not Kim's voice riding under the air like a warning. It was about 6 months later when I heard from someone I never expected. Delilah. She messaged me through a burner Instagram account. Just one sentence. "Did you ever hear the reel labeled in red?" I didn't answer. I didn't want to get pulled back into it. But the next message came with a photo. It was of her mother's handwriting. A page torn from a notebook I'd never seen before, scrawled across the top in red ink. "They are taping over my memory." The rest of the page was fragmented, almost frantic. Lyrics, names, half-rhymed warnings that didn't make sense at first. "He doesn't write them anymore." My voice on tracks I never sang. "I hear myself when I'm not awake. Something is copying me." The girls had found it tucked inside a hollowed-out medical dictionary at their mom's old place in Toluca Lake. She used to keep strange journals, sketch pads filled with things she dreamed, saw, remembered. Most of them were like therapy. But this one read like a last will, like she was documenting something she couldn't explain. Jesse told me they found the notebook after a dream. Same one. All three of them. Same night. A door under the house. Fog pouring through the keyhole. Their mother's voice humming something backwards. That's when they went looking. Inside the journal was a reference to something called the booth below. They had never heard the name before. That's why they reached out to me. I told them what I saw. I told them about the hum, the reel, the freezing air, and the whisper that wasn't mine. Chance was quiet the whole time. Then she said, it wasn't just hers. It's trying to finish the track. I didn't ask what she meant. I didn't have to. They found a Dropbox file the next week, an anonymous email, no sender info. Inside was a digital copy of something that called itself a memoir. It was labeled The Booth Below by Kimberly Porter. Page after page of distorted memory. The same handwriting as the notebook, but this time, different. Choppier. There were entire paragraphs where words repeated like loops, sentences overwritten like someone had typed on top of her. And scattered throughout were bolded phrases, do not sing what you don't remember. The booth is not a room. Fame is a choir. The choir must bleed. Then came page 66. In red ink, full caps, written across the entire page. It speaks in rhythm. It lies in lyrics. Do not sing. They didn't know what to do. They were scared, but too deep to stop. They started playing old voicemails their mom had left, dozens of them. Birthday messages, little singing reminders, even notes about school stuff. But one stood out. It was labeled for them. Not her style. Too formal, too final. In it, Kim's voice was shaky. Not panicked, just tired, like someone who'd been looking over her shoulder for too long. If I don't make it, I didn't die of sickness. I was quieted, not murdered, not pneumonia. Quieted. There's something in the booth. It's not human. I heard it first in the headphones, before I saw it in him. It feeds on worship, and music is worship. There was a pause. Then she whispered, he doesn't know its name, but it knows his. Then the voicemail cut off. But if you boosted the volume at the end, you could hear something buried under the static. A voice, not hers, not Diddy's, something old, smooth. And it said, when blood betrays, the fog obeys. Sing, little air, sing. I thought that would be the end of it. I told them what I knew, warned them to stay away from the vault, from the reel, from the rhythm. But they didn't listen. They went back. Chance still had the code to the house. Diddy hadn't changed it. Maybe he didn't think he needed to. Or maybe he knew no one would come back. Not after what Kim wrote. Not after what she whispered into that tape. But blood pulls hard. And silence doesn't sit well with daughters left behind. They went in together. Chance, Delilah, Jesse. No bodyguards, no phones, just a key card and whatever truth they thought they'd find. It had been years, but the house was exactly as they remembered it. Too clean, too quiet, lights still on timers, air stale like it hadn't been lived in, just preserved. They made their way to the lower level, past the wine cellar, behind a false panel in the wall. Same keypad, same code. The door hissed open. The booth below hadn't aged a day, but it had changed. The second they stepped inside, the air turned thick. The kind of heavy you don't feel in your lungs. You feel it in your teeth. A low hum trembled through the console desk, just soft enough to mistake for your own heartbeat. The room smelled like copper and dust. The foam soundproofing on the walls had started to peel, revealing scratches underneath. Symbols they didn't recognize. Patterns that almost looked like fingerprints dragged through ash. On the center console was a reel, already loaded, and underneath it, a tape recorder, waiting. Jesse reached for it first. They didn't speak, didn't need to. They were already listening. The booth didn't need permission to start anymore. They hit play, and the fog rolled in. It wasn't just mist. It moved like it knew the shape of the room, curling through cables, wrapping around mic stands, slithering across the soundboard like it was looking for something. Then came the beat. Not music, not drums, A pulse, steady, deep, wet, like a heart buried too deep in the walls. Then the voice, not whispered, not hidden, spoken clear and close, like someone leaning into a mic just inches from your ear. One made the deal, one kept the beat, one tried to run, but fog has feet. The girls froze. The console lights flickered once, then again. Meters jumped, bouncing to no input, and then the voice spoke again. She sang too loud, so we turned the mic toward her blood. The fog rose higher. Jesse backed toward the door, but it had already sealed shut. Chance grabbed the reel, but the tape had started spinning backwards, dragging sound through the speakers like it was unmaking a song instead of playing one. Delilah was the first to understand. She stepped toward the center of the room, calm, focused, like she remembered something the others didn't. And the voice, smooth, deep, layered like 10 throats speaking at once, said, 3 inherit. 1 must pay, 1 forgets, 1 fades away, 1 will carry all the blame, the quiet air shall wear the name. It laughed then, a chuckle with no breath behind it, just reverb, endless, and then the fog poured into the speakers. Not sound, not air, memory. They saw their mother again, sitting at the console, eyes glassy, speaking lyrics she never wrote, singing in languages no one taught her, humming lullabies in reverse. It fed on him. It fed on me. It wants the next. It wants all 3. I never found out how they got out of that room. Only that they did. But none of them have spoken publicly since. No red carpets, no posts, no mentions of their father. It's like they were written out of the story, erased. But I know what they heard. And I know what name finally revealed itself on the tape's ending. I don't know what the girls did after that track dropped. No one does. They disappeared again, this time without a trace. All of them. No more anonymous uploads, no interviews, no sightings, just silence. The world moved on, as it always does. But some of us never stopped listening. A few months later, I got a call from someone who used to work housekeeping at the Combs estate. She hadn't been inside the place since the raids, but the property manager had let her do one final walkthrough. Told her to clean the studio, prep it for sale. She didn't make it past the 2nd floor. Said she heard humming coming from the basement. Not through speakers, but through the walls. A low, slow tune, almost like a lullaby, played backwards. She didn't go down. She quit the next day. I couldn't help myself. I told myself I was just going to drive by, just one more time. Curiosity, nothing more. But the house was unlocked. The front door was open like it was expecting someone. I stood there for a long time, hand on the doorknob, before I stepped inside. The place was stripped, furniture gone, drapes drawn, still smelled like air freshener and regret. But the vault was humming. I don't even remember walking to it. Just remember being in front of it, hand hovering over the keypad like I'd never stopped working there. The door creaked open, slow, heavy. The booth below hadn't changed, but it felt different. Colder, stiller, like even the fog had stopped breathing. There was no tape this time, no whisper, no humming reel, just a note on the console. A torn piece of red notebook paper. 3 words. She chose silence. Underneath it was a reel I hadn't seen before, smaller than the others. No markings. I took it. I brought it home. And for days, I didn't touch it. But then one night, I couldn't sleep. The hum was back in my ears, the same pulse from the booth. So I loaded the reel into an old analog deck and pressed play. It didn't start with a beat. It started with a breath, and then a voice. Soft, female, familiar. It was Chance. She sounded older, worn down. If you're hearing this, it means I'm the only one left. There was a pause, then static. Jessie stopped speaking the day we left, not because she was scared, because she was told to. Delilah, I don't know. I think she stayed. I think it needed someone. Another pause. The sound of shuffling. Her voice dropped lower. It gave us a choice: sing or disappear. Mom tried to warn us, but it wasn't her voice on that last track. It was something else. Something that lives in rhythm. It doesn't kill, it rewrites. That's what it is. That's what it does. The tape hissed again, and then the voice came. Not Chance, not Kim. That voice. The one from the booth. The one that speaks like it remembers the first sound ever made. It didn't yell. It didn't demand. It just stated, "You are the heir," the final verse. To speak the name, you must rehearse. The reel cut out. I sat there, frozen. But the name, it lingered in the static. I didn't want to say it, but I heard it, not with my ears, with something older, something in my bones. And when I whispered it, not aloud, just in my mind, the power went out in my building. I don't even know if I should write this, but the name was Baal. And the booth? The booth was never a studio. It was an altar, a contract, a mouth waiting to be fed. And silence? Silence was the only thing it couldn't record. It wasn't just a studio. It wasn't just a room where music was made. It was a mouth, a memory, a contract. And when it's quiet, when the reel stops spinning, that's not peace. That's hunger. I know now why she died. I know what he fed it. And I know what it's waiting for next. They called it a studio, but it was something else entirely. It was Diddy's vault.